In today's video, we're going to be assembling the fort, and as you can see, I've already cut off the pieces of this page, which is page 3, that belong to the engine works. So the fort is right here, and here's our base. Again, we're going to be reinforcing our base, our fort base, which is found on page 15. So, reinforcing the fort base with some strips of just regular printer paper, just in case you have a lot of wear and tear going on with your terrain. So, I've already cut out my base plate pieces so that it's big enough. So I'm going to go ahead and reinforce, and I'll fast forward to that point while we're doing the next part. Let's go ahead and move on to the scoring. So when you score, you draw a line from one blue arrow to the other blue arrow, and this one's scoring is fairly straightforward. Just score all the lines, and then we'll move on to the next part. Alright, now that I've scored all the lines, I'm going to go ahead and cut everything out. An important thing to remember is cutting out these slots here on these parts. They're little slots up the top. Zoom in so you can see that. This white space here needs to be cut out completely so that that becomes a slot that things can be slotted into. So remember that and cut everything out. We'll go to there. Okay, so if you've cut all your parts, you may be like me and feel compelled to cut out the leaves on every bush. If you're not, you just want to round them off, that's fine too. Alright, but a couple key things though, there are a couple more slots that you need to make sure are slotted. Alright, this spot right here is a slot. It's a slot. The other side, also a slot. So you gotta make sure that these slots are cut out before you start putting things together. It's very difficult to cut it out once it's already glued. So that also in the middle there is a slot on this piece. So make sure all those pieces are slotted along with these side pieces. The slots should be cut out there. Okay, so let's go ahead and proceed to the instructions. We've got our board all put together and trimmed. So now we put together the base piece of the fort, and the instructions say, alright, find the piece labeled F1. glue that in. And that will be this sort of central tablet here. And you can glue that right on down to the base. And the base textures will match up. Not that it will really matter that much as long as you get it exactly in the middle. So just get it exactly in the middle, match up the base textures on the ground, and that's good. So then what we're going to want to do is glue this piece together. Make sure your arrows are pointing the same way, but also make sure, why don't you go ahead and fold your ground pieces out so that the tabs can be on the ground, okay? That'll give you an idea. And those tabs are going to be on the outside of your structure. If you end up gluing it together like this, and the tabs fold out to the outside of your structure, and you can see the glue spot here, you've done it wrong. Take it apart. Do it again. So make sure that these are out. You fold that around and glue it into place here. Alright. Glue that on down, and what you can do is just fold the whole thing flat like that, and that way you know you got it right. Okay? We'll give that a few seconds to dry while we look at what our next part of the instructions will be. Let's see. Glue down the structure, F3, FT3, and FT4. So that's here and here. Again, everything should line up great. So you're going to make sure you bend these side parts to make this into a nice proper hexagon, which it is. Make sure you got FT3 and FT4 on the right side. Again, the ground texture will line up. That's how you know you got your tab glued down in the right spot. And you may need to hold these in place for a second to make sure that they stay. And of course, you should be able to fold the whole thing flat. So let's make sure you can do that. And that once you do, you make sure everything's straightened up, nothing's shifted, looks great. Okay, so next we glue the arms of the fort platform. We insert the arms of the fort platform through the slots. Now what that means is we go ahead and fold this the way it's supposed to go. Now we can wait. Alright, so you can see what I'm doing here. This arm is FT6, so this arm is FT5. It's going to come out through the slot. This is going to go into the middle slot, and then this is going to go out this slot. Okay? So you're kind of slotting together the three parts, the middle, sides, and the platform here. Okay? At which point you can glue down the ends of the platform, FT5 and FT6. Again, match it up with the ground texture. Make sure everything looks pretty before you let it be, but that shouldn't be an issue at all. There we go. And on the other side, FT5. And once you have that kind of in place, go ahead and fold it flat. Make sure that everything everything's lining up. This is one you can fold them flat every time you glue something down, just to make sure that it is in the right place and it is folding right. Alright, so that's your basic fort structure. You've done most of the work. Now you will glue the side flaps into place. And what you want to make sure, there should be a wider side and a skinnier side on each of the flaps. And you just want to make sure that the skinnier side is close to the middle. The flaps don't have any particular place where they need to be other than on there, so just make sure you have one on each spot. And you might want to make sure that you're not showing the back of them. The back you can usually see has a little more bleed edge around the edges, but honestly you could put the back on there and it would still look fine. So at that point you're going to take these boards, and these boards, again, they have numbers on them, but really it really doesn't matter which spot they go on. They just need to be, each of these needs a board to hold it in place, and you just glue that in so that it's snug against the wall there. And this, they'll hold those on there, they'll keep it from slipping around too much. You don't want to glue this you don't want to glue the flap anywhere. You don't want glue on the flaps at all, so be careful about that. If you do get glue on the flap, it's not that big of a deal, you just have to kind of crack it off later. But if glue on the flap sometimes keeps it from functioning properly, the finished product side of things. So got all our boards glued on, we're looking good. We are ready to try folding it again to see if it folds flat. It does, and it comes back up. Perfect. So now we are on to the plants. Okay, we're going to glue FT7, 8, and 9. Okay, and again, we're going to line up the textures on the ground. And that may be a little bit tricky, since the leaves tend to look very similar. But take a good look at what's going on underneath, and match it up as best you can. It's not impossible to get it right, just based on looking at what's there and matching it up. So, and if something seems to end abruptly or doesn't seem to be working out, then you probably have it in the wrong spot. And FT9 is going to be this big, tall bush here. Goes right by the pond here. And that shouldn't be too hard to line up since it's got the rocks from the pond there. Okay. And then we have FT23, which is this piece. FT23 and FT24 are the two sides, and really you just want to glue them on. They won't match up the texture exactly, just because gluing front to back like that wouldn't work. So there you go. You make sure that's on there, and then what we're going to do is give that a few seconds to dry while we glue down some of the other side, and then fold it up. And we may need to make adjustments at that point. Adjustments are part of the process sometimes, just to make sure everything's working properly and bending in the right place. But that shouldn't really be a problem. Again, matching up the ground textures on FT 10 and 11 as you glue down the bushes on the other side. and then FT12 as well. Try to see where the ground textures are and where they go, and just match it up as best you can. And we'll try folding this flat and see what happens. Yes, 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 it's looking good. And those bushes come back up, that's perfect. And this final little piece here goes right here. So you can see that it forms sort of an S shape rather than the regular U shape, and that's so that everything will stay below the edge surface here. So glue it on there and there. And with these, you want to make sure that these linking parts in between the bushes are parallel to the ground, perpendicular to the surface that they're coming out of, and that that'll make sure that they fold down exactly right. So let's give that again another couple seconds to dry. Clear off the trash from your table. Clearing off the trash makes it easier to find the stuff later. And there we go. There's the fort, and I got a little bit of glue here. Let's go ahead and crack that loose, and this piece is come out of place slightly. So I'm just gonna glue that back down again. If anything's out of place, you're usually okay. The sooner the better. Just pulling it off and putting some more glue on there. And if you mess something up, you always have the PDFs. You can print out another part, or use some extra material to fix it. It's paper, it's glue. You should be good at this. You've been doing it since kindergarten. Alright, so there we go. The whole thing folds up flat and pops back up. Some of these joints got a little bit of glue in them, so those will work better after the glue dries and you kind of pop them back out. But in fact, if you're having trouble with one of these corners sticking, you can kind of round off the corners just a little bit there, so that they don't get stuck in there as much. So, all right, and there's your pop-up fort, and you know, the side flaps open. If you really want to get creative, you can try cutting out these extra doors and stuff. But that may weaken your structure, which I want it to be a place, you know, you can stand stuff on there. You can put a bottle of glue up there. It'll hold it. So you can put minis on there as much as you want. It'll hold the weight. So thanks for watching the video, and have a good day. Need to develop a better sign-off.